quick refunds. So in Yardi, if you need to send a tenant a refund, we in general do not want you to create a payable. And the reason for that, I always tell people, is to be kind to your future self. If your tenant comes back to you a year from now and says, you were supposed to send me a check for $5,000 and you never did, are you going to remember, or is whoever the tenant is asking going to remember that you set up a vendor and refunded the vendor? Whereas if you attach it to the tenant's record, it is a record on their lease. It is visible to them on their history in Commercial Café. If you print out a ledger, it is on there to say, we sent you a check for $5,000. So that is the main reason I don't recommend that you create vendors for tenants, because you lose that connection. So how do you refund a credit? Basically, from Yardi's perspective, Yardi doesn't know the difference between a positive and negative charge. Those of you who came from MRI know that in MRI, you tell MRI that this is a credit and this is a charge, and that's how MRI knows. But if you're going to refund something to a tenant, you just put in the negative amount. Going to grab a T code. You're going to select the appropriate charge code. So let's say this was for a TI reimbursement. And remember that, again, similar to anything else, it's important to make sure you're using the charge codes correctly so they flow correctly into your management fees. Once this is ready, you're just going to hit post. And now we're going to go to lease administration, deposits, quick refund. We'll put in the lease ID. And now you can see I'm going to exclude the security deposit because all I want to do is refund the $500. Now, notice if we go and look at this tenant's ledger, they have outstanding amounts. Quick refund is not move out accounting. Quick refund can't be used to apply things. So if they were getting a partial refund, maybe they were getting a credit and some of it needed to be applied, anything like that. Maybe they're getting a partial refund of their security deposit, anything like that. If you need to apply anything, that has to be done first. For this will just refund the credit or whatever you choose. In this case, maybe they were getting a partial refund of their security deposit. You can adjust how much you're sending back to them here, and then you would just put in the remaining information. Expense type is always expenses, and post, and it would create that refund to them. And once it creates this, it's now just a regular payable in your payable process to issue the payment back to the tenant. For those, if any of you are using AvidPay, I also generally do not recommend using AvidPay to send tenants back refunds. In my experience, they just confuse tenants because Avid will reach out to them and say, hey, you're a vendor of so-and-so company. Do you accept credit cards, or how do you want your money, or whatever? And tenants will say, but we're not a vendor of them. And they get very confused. When I was working with Avid, I got calls almost weekly at tenants who were convinced it was some sort of scam. And I would expect that would be true of any third-party payment processing system. So I highly encourage you to still just issue checks to tenants for refunds.